It's an absolutely glorious day here again. It's Friday morning, I've just finished my night shifts, and last night actually wasn't too taxing. So I'm not going to go to bed, I've got some energy, and I'm so excited that I've got all of today, which is Friday, and tomorrow, Saturday, and Sunday at home with nowhere else to be, and I can really get going with things here on the plot. And I've got so much to do, so we'll have a little walk around, but I'm going to start you here with these flowers. So I've got some more of my sweet peas which are more than ready to go out now, and I've also got these nasturtiums which are actually starting to flower, and I grew two varieties of nasturtium this season. These are a climbing variety, and I also have a trailing variety which is still in the polytunnel, and I want to put these at the base of the obelisks and here at the plot, and they're just going to look delightful. So that's a job that definitely needs to be done. The flowers I can nip off, and actually Victor the tortoise loves to eat them, so I will nip those flowers off to encourage them to climb and then grow and flower some more. I have got another of the obelisks here, and this was the one that had a bit missing, so I've managed to cobble it together by putting in a piece that didn't belong to this, so it's now complete. But I've actually decided I'm going to use this one in the polytunnel in a big tub, and I'm going to grow my peas, which again, they're more than ready to get into a bed or a pot or out. So I think I'm going to put them in a big tub and grow them up this, and there's a space where I can put them. So that's another job. And something else I want to do, talking of growing things up, I've still got these hazel sticks left over. There's a lot of string on them as well, and these are what I'd used for growing my pumpkins over a couple of seasons. So I built a big squash frame, and I said pumpkin, I meant squash. You'll know why in a minute that I said pumpkin. And I grew my squash successfully up those frames for 2 seasons. And then we had some storms, and I'd left these out over the winter, and the storms took them down. And I have mentioned a couple of times already in previous videos this season that because I grew so many squash last year, and actually the year before was super successful as well, I've still actually got a load of roasted squash in the freezer, and I've still got a couple of seasoned squash stored in the spare room. So I really don't need to grow a load more this year. So I've got a couple going on, but not many. But what I'd like to do this year is grow, and I've got them going, they're looking really healthy, is those little baby Jackby little pumpkins. And what I thought I'd do with those canes, or poles if you will, that I'd used for the squash frame, that was actually in this bed to my left, to your right, is between the flower bed and what's the onion bed at the moment, is build some sort of a structure that I can walk underneath to grow those Jackby little pumpkins from. So I was contemplating getting some more of the arches, the same as the ones I've got in the polytunnel that I grow my beans up, and then I thought, you know what, rather than spending money on buying new things, why don't I have a look around for things that I've already got? So that's the plan, is to build some sort of a nice structure that I can walk under and grow those Jackby little pumpkins up. And I think, you know, it's all too easy to get caught up with buying things for our plots and our allotments and our gardens. And actually, one of the things that I certainly did when I had my old allotment plot, but very much so when we came to the farm and I started creating this garden, was that I didn't want it to be costing the earth and buying things in. You know, one of the things that's really, really important to me is that good old make, do and mend. Reduce, reuse, recycle. So I have bought a few bits and pieces this season, and you know, it's been really nice to treat myself, but I'd like to be able to get back to looking around and what have I already got that I could repurpose, reuse, and not be spending money, but also to think about our environmental impact. If we've already got things lying around that we can use, Well, why don't we do that? So as I say, the beginning of this season, I must confess, I have enjoyed having a little bit of a spend, and I have bought myself some lovely new treats. So I've had the obelisks. I did buy that compost tray, you know, for a potting tray, and I can't remember now, but these cane dewberries for building with, and I must say, they have made life so much easier. So I was using, let me see if I can find them. Oh, so again, in good old Blue Peter fashion, this is actually pipe lagging that we already had lying around, and some cable ties that we already had lying around, and we made cane toppers out of them, and they were okay, but eventually they started to slide down and the canes popped through the top, and then of course I had to tie the canes together. So I've kind of justified buying these because I can reuse them and reuse them and reuse them, and I have to say they did make life a lot easier. So let's go and have a look at the structure that I built with the canes, which I had brought into the shed. So I do try as much as I can with all my sticks and canes and things that are likely to, you know, perish. I do try and bring them in over the winter months to make them last as long as I can. So I made the frame, and you will have seen that in the last video, and I've covered it over with the netting. I've direct sown the beetroot. I've already got in that bed some shallots and leek, which don't particularly need covering, but they were in that space, so they've ended up under that netting. But I'm really pleased with that. And again, this netting is scaffold netting, and I wrapped it up at the end of last season and the season before, and tucked it away neatly so that I can bring it out and reuse it. And I'm not sure if the camera will pick it up, but I have actually got a little bit of germination on those beetroots in this side, and there is also some in the other rows that I sowed. I have made a start now on weeding the strawberry bed. So these are the younger plants, and they were getting completely swamped with weeds. I need to just weed the other half of this bed, and I've done kind of this side. I need to do the other side, and these are the more mature strawberry plants. And then once that's all weeded, again, I need to get this area netted over, as well as those raspberries. So we've still got the structure behind us that Chris kindly put up for me over the raspberries. So I just, again, need to throw some netting over that. And then the obelisk, which I'm not sure is in camera shot. So let's move the camera around, hang on. So it wasn't in shot. So this obelisk, again, I need to just weed underneath it, and then I can get some of those sweet peas and or nasturtiums going underneath it to climb up. The grass in this area is going bananas. I need to get it all trimmed down, and I am going to put more weed suppressant membrane and bark to make path areas around here and around the rhubarb and up to the edge of the polytunnel. And then this season we do need to put a concrete base down for that greenhouse, but I'm waiting on some time where Chris and I are both off. So I would love to have had it up for the beginning of this season, but I think realistically it will be up by the end of this season, but then it'll be ready for next season. I'm also going to put in a couple more beds, one definitely for my asparagus, and then a couple of other beds. I might as well use this space. And here in the polytunnel, everything's looking absolutely great. I've got so much here on the staging. A lot of this is ready to go out. Some of it needs potting on. So the stuff that's ready to go out, I don't want to put it out yet. So my nematodes have arrived. I haven't had the chance to water them in yet for a couple of reasons. Work, other stuff going on. So this evening when it's cooler, I will, because obviously they need it to be cool, and they also need the soil to stay holding its moisture and damp constantly for them to take effect, and it takes kind of 3 to 7 days for those to kick in. So while I'm itching to get things planted out, I need to get those things in place. So look at all these fabulous plants. So as I say, I'll get those nematodes watered in, and then I will continue to water. We are on a borehole, I've mentioned that before, but in case you're new to the channel, and it means I can actually set up a sprinkler system, and I sprinkle for a good 30 minutes every morning, every evening. I can even do it at lunchtime if I need to. So once those nematodes go in, I can constantly keep the soil in the right conditions for those nematodes to kick in. Once they've kicked in, I'm going to get the brassica netting out and get the brassicas in and any other plants that are ready to plant out. Something else that I've got are some more seeds to sow. So here in these 4 trays, I've got poppies and then a tray of wildflower seeds. I wanted to add into that some cornflower and some oxeye daisy. Now, traditionally you would get these sown in the spring, so much earlier on. However, they can actually be sown at any time. So I'm going to get them going in the polytunnel. I'm going to do them in plug plants in little cells in the same way as these. And then once they're all nice and established, they're going out into that wildflower meadow area to really enhance what's already there and fill it with colour, but also it's there for the pollinators, those bees and butterflies. It's going to be absolutely glorious. And then let's just have a quick looky round the polytunnel. So here I've got some herbs. We've got coriander, parsley and dill, and they're doing really well. There is some spinach here, it needs to come out. In my hanging baskets, you may remember that I said I'd lost all my geraniums. Well, hold that thought. But what I've done is I've popped various seeds, all flowers, into these hanging baskets. We've got some nasturtiums here. This is poached eggplant. There was a mix in one of those. These are morning glory, and I did do them in here once before, and they climbed beautifully up over the crop bars. And we've got some more nasturtium, some more mixes, some fuchsia. So I've just filled these baskets with various seeds. However, we had the lovely Jane from Jane's Growing Garden and Mike and the wonderful Rocky, their gorgeous lurcher. They came over a few weeks ago for a Sunday dinner. We had them over for a meal. They're only 45 minutes away from us, and obviously we wanted to have a look around the plot. Jane knew that I'd lost all my geraniums and they'd stopped en route, and very, very kindly, so thank you so much Jane and Mike, although I rather suspect it was Jane's idea, and bought me 2 trays of geraniums. So I've now got my good old hanging baskets on the shed here with geraniums in. I also have on the front, let's go and have a quick look. So my little window box on the shed has also got some geraniums. And then I'm being a little bit lazy rather than walking across. So those of you that know my plot layout, you'll know this is my little cottage. This is our wood shed, and then we cross over. We're at the back of the shed now, and this is the way I come through to the plot. The polytunnel is just there. You kind of know the layout. But I always like to have here, and then round the corner where the chickens are, a basket of geraniums. And because of the lovely Jane, I've now got my 3 baskets here, as well as the 2 on the shed and my window box. So that's just fantastic. And then here we can see my parsnips have germinated and they're looking really good. These are the gigantes beans and they're climbing up. The carrots here with interspersed rows of spring onion, red spring onion, they're looking great. The bolotto beans are a bit slow to get going. I might give them a little bit of a feed to give them a boost. All the bits and pieces here to stop. These are flowers, these are peas. The peas are going to go into a pot, as I've already mentioned, and up the obelisk. All these flowers need to be pricked out and potted on, and then they will be going into the flower bed. We've got, I think these are Madeira maroon. Yes, Madeira maroon beans here, looking really healthy, and here. So they're going to come up and over the archways. Left on this rack at the moment is just the trailing nasturtium, so I need to find some homes for those. And then here we've got, these are some romaine, I think they're the romaine. Yep, the romaine ballon lettuce, which I enjoy eating, but also the chickens love them. I started those in a tray. I've moved them into here and you can see they're doing really, really well. And then we've got some land American cress, possibly. Yep. Peppermint chard. and some Mizuna. So I'm going to get on now and start watering everything. But I'm going to take you along with me. So all the things I've just talked about, I will be taking you with me as I construct my pumpkin arch and get some weeding done and get the brassica netting out, pot things on, start planting things out.